Yeah, my topic today is the fundraising for the VR gaming studio. And my name is Jikhan Jung from Subdream Studios. And I'm going to talk about our company and myself first, so that you got some background about what I'm talking about. And then after that, I'm going to talk about my experience for fundraising. And then I want to give you some information that I got these days. So first of all, I started my gaming career back in 2004, and then I was doing the PC gaming at Galanet. That's the first company that I found. And then I sold my company back in 2013 to the Korean company called Webgen. And then I was doing the mobile gaming at Kabam, and then I was doing the mobile gaming at Colibri in the beginning, and then we switched to VR in 2016. So, and then I'm continuing this VR gaming with the new studios at this moment. And then in terms of the fundraising, this is my first company called Galanet. It's actually funded by one company. And then I only got the seed round, and then I never fundraised because I made a profit from the second year. So am I the professional for the fundraising? I'm not. I'm just the one of the product guy who has to fundraise for my company. So yeah, I'm not that different with everybody here in terms of the fundraising. And then while I was at Colorful, I released 3 titles. The Cyberpunk, Slaughter Party, and Longbeard is our games. And then Cyberpunk was our best game, so we released at the HTC Vive. And then our game was the second highest playtime game out of the all Steam games in the beginning. So our game was pretty good. And Slaughter Party is the multi-platform game that you can play on Oculus and Gear VR. So that's our trial that we did. And also there's an in-app purchase. So there are not many games that have an in-app purchase at this moment, but that's the trial that we did. Yeah, but the point here is that we didn't have the really hit title. So Cyberpunk was doing okay, but yeah, that's my past experience. So we are not the really hit game developer for the as a studio. So that's the other factor you can hear from my stories. And then this is my timeline, what happened to me. And then upper part is the product timeline that we did in 2016. And then bottom part is the what happened in the business side. So in the beginning, we started as a subsidiary of Colorful. But then since I have done my own company before, having no ownership of the company was not really interesting. So I talked with the company that I want to leave, basically. And then we come up the idea of spin out, where the Colorful still own the ownership, and at the same time I fundraise so that Colorful can still own the ownership for the new company. However, that didn't go well because Colorful wanted more shares while new investor doesn't want to give them more shares. So they didn't go well. So I quit the company in November, and then I start fundraise from there. And then we close our first round in January, and then we officially start right now. So as of today, I closed $1 million in euro, maybe 800K euro, maybe. And then I have another 150K is on the way. So this is big round, right? So yeah, this is the seed round that I raised. So next thing is the blurb. Whenever you want to get the introduction from other people for the VC, you want to have some like 3 or 4 lines of introduction about yourself, right? So that's the blurb we say in the States. And we say that our company is the social gaming studio in San Mateo, founded by me. It's our first line that we try to appear. And then second line, we try to appear that we are experienced team. So we said that we released 3 titles with Colorful. And then the last line, we are saying that what are you going to do in the future? So we are saying that Subdream is going to figure out what's the best social gaming experience in VR. So that's how we say about our company to the other people. And next thing is our one-pager. So if you are fundraising, you might be familiar with the one-pager. This is my one-pager. mine is actually too much going on. So maybe I have to make it more simple. But on the left side, I try to write down what we did, and then on the bottom, on the middle side, we are trying to explain about who we are and what we're going to do. And on the right side, we try to explain about what we are raising this round. But I don't know, this is the typical one-pager. So this might be different by countries or culture. So, but this is just one example you guys can refer to. And then what we want to do is the kind of like this. So in VR, what we want to make is the you go to the Subdream, and then you can choose multiple different kind of multiplayer game, and then you can always match with the other players. That's the place that we want to make. So if there is a more green light, that means that there are more players. So in a player's point of view, they can always be matched with somebody in any games. And in developer's point of view, it is very hard to make a multiplayer game because you don't know where you can gather enough players to play the match together. So it will be beneficial for both players and then the developer too. So that's something that we try to do. So now I want to share some experience that I did with the Subdream. And then the first thing is can we raise? Can you raise this round? That's the first question that we have. And then in my point of view, I think there are three factors that you have to think about. The first thing is the founder, whether you have an exit before or whether you have a relevant experience in let's say, gaming industry or doing some VR, so that when they hear about you, they kind of can imagine you can be successful. And then maybe next thing is the team, whether your team is the experience in VR or any relevant experience. And then the product. And as the company is more like a more earlier the stage, they are more looking at the founder than anything else. Maybe because there is nothing they can see. And then as the round is going more further, they are more looking at the product than founder or team itself. So I think this is the combination of those three. And then in my case, because we just started a new company, we don't have any product yet. I think most of the investors looking at my past experience that I started my company and then I sold my company. So the 90% is in my point of view, that's how I fundraise this time. And then actually, out of those 4 investors, 2 of them never seen our team yet, and they made an investment. So yeah, that's how it happened to my case this time. And then maybe next thing is what you're gonna raise, like what kind of round you're gonna raise. So does anybody know what is safe? So I think the point here is that when you raise the round, it's best that you have the simplest way to close a deal. Meaning that let's say for like Series A, this is all the terms that you have to negotiate with the investors. And as you have more terms to negotiate, there are more possibility that it's going to be far off, right? So you want to be as simple as possible. So there are a lot of startup raised by convertible note, which is you only have to negotiate 4 terms. But the safe is the something that invented by Y Combinator, which is in Silicon Valley, and you only have to negotiate 2 terms. So it's very, very simple. It's only one document that everybody is using, so you don't have to negotiate anything else. So in my case, I raised safe round this time because of this way. And then the next thing is from whom we gonna raise. I think if you have a strong team and strong product, then it might be you might have a multiple choice, and then maybe you have a choice to whom you're gonna get the money from. And then after some thinking, I think the reason we are fundraise is the money and ARPA, right? Something else. And then when you think about the something else, it can be. I think as I think more and more, the most important thing is the next round, because I think especially VR is the very long way to go. So if you raise this round, the next thing you want to do is the next round, right? So there are some VC who has a small amount of budget, so they cannot really put you the money the next round. But there are several VCs who has a lot of fun, a lot of money, So as you go to the next round, they have money to keep more money, put more money to your company. So I think that's very important to consider for you. And I think the other thing is very important is that eventually, I don't know whether you guys want to run your company like forever, but most company is aiming to exit either by IPO or either by selling your company, other company. And if the investor has experience for exit to sell their portfolio company, then I think that might be pretty good sign. So you're high chance to sell your company too. So I think that's the second important factor that you want to think about when you choose the investor. But I think if you just want to get some money, then I think there are a lot of other ways to get the money right now. So especially HMD company, like I know that Oculus is giving some grant. If you have a good product, good prototype, they give you some grant. And especially in Korea, the government is actually giving out a lot of money to the developer. So you make your games, and government give you money. So that's the other way to go. And then, especially in Japan, there are a lot of companies looking for the work for hire because they don't have a good engineers and artists. They are looking for the other company to do work for them. So that's the other way to go. And then project financing, licensing contract is kind of similar. So you pitch your idea to other bigger company, and then they fund your project, and you do, and you basically do the rev share with them. So that's the other way to go. And in VR, I think it's not really popular yet, but crowdfunding, like Kickstarter, will be the other way to go too. But however, because of the these two reasons of going to the next round and exit, yeah, maybe VC is the VC or investor, going to the investor might be the good way to go. And then in my case, since my company is in USA, I definitely try to fundraise from USA. But at the same time, because of my background, I'm actually Korean, and I was in Japan for 5 years. I also went to Korea, Japan, and China to fundraise. And these are some of the difference by countries. And I see that a lot of Silicon Valley companies is a little bit hesitating to invest in gaming, simply because it's very hard to predict whether your idea is gonna happen or their idea gonna happen. You don't know, so they just don't like it because they are really smart people. But people in Los Angeles, I think there are more art or media is there, so even the investors are more willing to put the money on contents. So that's the difference in USA. And in case of Korea, there are growing interest of investing in VR. However, while I'm negotiating with the company, I found that it's very hard to know whether they want to invest or not, because they don't really give the clear sign of investment. So that's the kind of hard. But in case of Japan, traditionally, I heard that Japan is usually slow, and their yes is not usually yes. But in my case, they have a very clear reaction whether they're going to invest or not. And then out of all my investment, all my Japan investment was actually happened within maybe 2 weeks. So it seems like the traditional Japanese way is not really applied to the VR investment right now, based on my experience. And in case of China, there are a lot of interest in investing in VR early last year, but coming toward to end of last year, it seems like they are slowing down. So I have one investor from China who wanted to put the money for a long time, but getting to the end of the year, they actually pull off. So I feel like China is getting slowed down right now. And then the next thing is how are we going to approach the investors? I think the best thing is you already knew them before you fundraise, so that they already know you and then you have a trust with them. Seems like the best way. And in my case, I closed 2 companies like that way. And then I also heard that introduced by other successful entrepreneur might be very helpful, but I haven't closed by this way. And then lastly, introduction by other VC might be other good way too. So I closed one company from this way too. But I think the best way is that you just make them to approach you instead of you going them. Might be the best way. And then the things that you don't want to do is you rely on the BD person. So you hire a BD person to go out fundraise. Seems like the worst idea. So in my case, when I was talking about the spin-off with the Coloper, I hired one BD person, but I closed zero with that BD person. So it seems like that's not going to work, especially in my case. And then most VC appreciate your quick response. They want entrepreneur to be very on top of the communication. So you want to be quick on the response. But at the same time, in one case, I actually give them my response pretty slow for the reason that I want to give them the impression that I'm kind of choosing them instead of they choose me. So that's some strategy that I did, but I think you should be very careful to do it because that might just break off your deal. And then the next thing is the valuation. This is totally just my idea by hearing my friend's story. So this is just a reference. But I'm hearing that if you have no game in the market yet, then $3 to $7 million of valuation cap seems like the reasonable range. And if you have already in the game in the market, but not really hit yet, then maybe about $5 to $10 million of valuation cap. And then if you have a hit title, then starting from like $15 million of pre-valuation seems like the norm, like end of last year, this year kind of stuff. You know. And then the last thing is having your own database. So by approaching a lot of different investors, even sometimes like forgot I talked to some person on some VC, so having some spreadsheet or Google Docs to keep track of might be very important to do it. And then lastly, some of the information to share. Yeah, this is the Silicon Valley, San Francisco to San Jose. And this data is only from 2001 to 2015, but as you can see, except for the only two investors or the other investors who is active in investing in VR AR is located in Silicon Valley. So being in Silicon Valley is actually really beneficial if you raise your fund. And then this is about the media companies investing in VR and AR. But if you look at the chart, you can see that from end of 2015, the VR investment is happening a lot, but then it peaked out around March to August range, and then after August, you see that it little bit dried out. So this chart is saying that the VR investment is a little bit slowing down. Yeah, it's getting a little bit hard compared to the last year, in my point of view. And then the next thing is the VR-focused investors. There are investors who is only focused on VR and AR, and this is the company who is the focus on VR and AR investors. And in Silicon Valley, there are three incubator who is investing in VR. HTC Vive, and then Boost VC, and Frontier Technology is the three companies. And then in China, there are Yozu has their own incubator program. It's called UCC VR. It's in Shanghai. And in Japan, there is a Tokyo VR startup. It's in Tokyo. And in Korea, there is a Seoul VR startup in Seoul. And this Seoul VR startup is actually like joint venture between YJM and Gumi. So that's why the name is kind of similar here. And the other company who is the focus on VR investment is actually these companies. And out of all this company, Coloper is the most active investor for VR investment. And then and next thing is the VR fund in San Francisco. And then Presence Capital, and then Gree VR fund, and Metaverse VC. So if you happily met the Coloper VR fund and the VR fund, I think those are the guys that you want to talk about for your. Oh, yeah, Shintaro is right there. Yeah, he is the person who is running the Colorful VR Fund. So maybe you want to talk with him for your venture. And then lastly, if you go to the Asia, those are the companies who is investing in VR. And in Korean case, they don't usually invest outside of Korea that much these days, but K-Cube and YJM are the two major companies who is investing in VR. And in Japan, I found that they are very active investing in global company than local Japanese company. And those are the companies who is investing in the VR companies. And in China, most of the investment is for the local company. And I heard that is because of the some kind of like regulation for the Chinese government. So they don't really invest that much for the outside of the countries. But yeah, those are the companies who is investing in VR.
Okay, that's fine as well. Then just thank you very much for being here.